Hola clase, bienvenidos a Moonlight Talks. I am your host, Nicole, and today we are going to be talking about somatic processing, and specifically somatic processing using psychedelics. So let's get into it. What is somatic processing? Well, somatic experiencing was a technique developed by Peter Levin, and it is essentially feeling the feeling that you have not yet felt, but was there, and that's why the trauma is still in your system. The feeling still lives within your subconscious, but you haven't fully been able to feel it because of how painful and how much resistance you have to that feeling, which is what makes it a trauma. Specifically with somatic experiencing, it's feeling the unfelt charge of the PTSD feeling. And what the PTSD feeling is a fight or flight or freeze or fawn feeling, which is basically when our system goes into fight or flight, like me right now. Is basically a trauma response in our nervous system when the sympathetic nervous system turns on, which is basically you need to either get away or you need to fight off the attacker to save your life. It's a very survival-based mechanism within our bodies and our minds, and it's very biological. Having trauma and having a PTSD charge is not some personal failing. It is a biological mechanism within our body that happens not just to humans, but also to animals. But unlike animals, humans have a tougher time dispelling that pent-up PTSD charge. And what is that charge made of? It's made of chemicals like cortisol, adrenaline, and on a shamanic level, it's dense, traumatic energies that haven't been fully processed out of the subconscious. So, I mentioned animals. Animals will shake out the PTSD if they undergo an attack from an animal. They'll literally shake their bodies like that for who knows how long, minutes, hours, and it literally gets rid of the charge that would have been a trauma. But us humans, we're so cerebral, we're so in our minds and so disembodied, meaning that we aren't in touch with our feelings and our bodies, that we don't even know to listen to that instinct. So that charge that gets activated if you have a traumatic experience, it isn't allowed to be released or discharged. So it stays as a trauma in your system that keeps getting reactivated and re-triggered every time something familiar reactivates it. And whenever it gets reactivated, that's a chance for you to feel that trauma feeling out of your system. Every time you get triggered, think of it as the greatest gift that God has ever given you, the chance to heal right here and right now. It's probably one of the easiest ways to heal because you have direct access to that traumatized feeling. And what you have to do is just be present with that feeling. Give your full undivided attention and presence to the feeling and to the sensations, and feel the sensations. Feel them in their entirety. Feel how thick they are. Feel how dense they are, or how light they are. Feel where they are in your body. If they're in your chest, if they're in your hips, they're in your throat, who knows where else. But get very attuned to the feeling. And as you continue this process of healing your traumas, the sensations in your body will go from something like a concrete, dense wall to something more liquid like water, flowy, to air, something transparent, permeable, spiritual. So this concept, somatic processing or somatic experiencing, which is developed by Peter Levin, it was developed in the context of acute trauma, mainly of the body, as in a near-death experience, like a car crash or wartime. But really, this technique can be applied to any sort of trauma to your system. It could be in any area or domain of your life. It could be your relationships, your money, your body image, your whatever else there is. So you can apply this technique to any sort of situation that causes you trouble. If you have a reoccurring pattern in your life, then that means that there is a charge or a subconscious patterning that has been imprinted into your mind, either in childhood, from your environment, or later on. Remember, it only takes one traumatic experience to alter someone, to traumatize them. It takes only one negative experience. So, yes, you can apply this to very acute trauma, emotional traumas, but you can apply it to any sort of thing that you're manifesting. Like, let's say, money. If you're imprinted with a certain idea that it's normal for me to make this much, and that's the feeling that you have inside your subconscious, then you can reprogram that by feeling that out of your system and by implementing a new feeling or a new vibration or a new frequency to bring in even more money. Does that make sense? Okay. This part is shamanic, but the universe, God, the subconscious, which are all essentially the same thing. This is the part of us that we are not aware of, but is more in the realm of control of God and is God. It responds to the language of vibration. What is vibration? Vibration is created mainly through feeling. And that's what somatic processing is about. It's about feeling the feeling out of your system. When you are creating your life, your reality responds best to feeling, to vibration, more so than words. Words are really just an extension of your vibration. And there's a quote from David Hawkins that is, 1,000 words is about equal to a feeling. So a feeling is about equal to 1,000 words. So think of a feeling as a very potent source of information, of who you are and what you're emitting. And yeah. So now we're going to get into the point of this video, what I named this talk, which was basically somatic processing with psychedelics. So why work with psychedelics along with somatic processing? Well, really, psychedelics, specifically ayahuasca, brings a vast amount of awareness to your feelings and to your emotional body that otherwise, without it, is kind of like using a spoon to dig out an entire iceberg. And when you have access to the psychedelic, it allows you to basically incinerate that iceberg in its entirety down to the very depths of the iceberg. So psychedelics allow access to the subconscious mind. It allows deeper access to the traumas in your system, to the feelings in your system. It's a powerful tool, and it's a tool that you need to be very careful about. But psychedelics really cannot be excluded from this discussion of somatic processing. With the right set and setting, with the right maturity, psychedelics are an amazing tool for your healing and for your spiritual and human development. Really, psychedelics was the last part of the speech, and that is the point that I wanted to make. That is all I got for you. Thank you so much for listening. I will see you next week. I'll come up with another video. Take care.